Hi everyone. So as we all know, humans have been adding a lot of carbon to the atmosphere in the form of carbon dioxide for a very long time, especially since the Industrial Revolution. As you might remember from when we talked about the carbon cycle, is that carbon can leave the atmosphere in a bunch of different ways. One way is through diffusion. So remember, in diffusion, carbon dioxide can leave the atmosphere and go into the hydrosphere, like the ocean, and carbon dioxide can go back from the ocean to the atmosphere. But how exactly does carbon dioxide affect the ocean? So today we are going to do a quick demonstration or experiment in which we're going to see how water is affected by carbon dioxide. So for this demonstration, I'm going to use a glass, which I will fill with water later, a rubber band, some plastic wrap, a straw, preferably reusable, gotta save the planet, and lastly, some pH indicator. pH indicator is something that you should be able to buy in a supermarket, but a pH indicator is just a chemical that changes colors based on how acidic or basic the liquid it is in is. So you might have heard of pH before, you might have heard the word acidic or basic, but essentially if a liquid is very acidic, it's an acid, and it tastes kind of sour. You should not taste acids, but I can tell you that they are sour. And fluids that are basic usually taste a little bit bitter. And the acidity, whether a liquid is an acid or a base, can greatly affect the organisms that live there, as well as a number of other processes that happen on Earth. So we're going to see how water becomes more acidic or basic as we add carbon dioxide to it. All right, so I am ready to begin the experiment. So I filled this clear glass about halfway with water. The amount of water doesn't matter too much. You just want enough to be able to see some color changes in the liquid. Next, I'm going to add some of my pH indicator to the glass. The instructions on the bottle say to add 10 drops for every 50 milliliters. I don't quite know how much water this is, and again, it doesn't quite matter. So I've done this already. I practiced. I know if I add about 20 drops of this, we're going to be able to see the color change. So I'm going to add about 20 drops of that pH indicator, and you can see as I'm adding these drops, the water is slowly turning green. When I'm done, I'll just give it a mix with my straw, and then we're ready to move on to the next step. So for the next step, we are going to put just a very thin sheet of plastic wrap over the glass, and we'll attach it with a rubber band, and then I'm just going to poke a hole in the top so that my straw can get in. All right, now that our experiment is ready, I'm actually going to blow into the straw and into the water. Now, you guys all know when animals breathe or when they engage in respiration, their carbon is leaving their bodies as carbon dioxide. So when I breathe out into the straw, I will be adding carbon to the water. And right now the water is green. According to this pH indicator, green means neutral. So water is always neutral, or rather at its natural state, water is neutral. And as I add carbon to this water, we're going to see if the water becomes more acidic or basic, which we will be able to tell because the color of the water is going to change. One quick note, lab safety. As I breathe into this water, I'm going to be very certain not to accidentally drink the water. This pH indicator is technically a chemical that can cause cancer, so I'm going to be really careful not to get it in my mouth. All right, so I'm going to blow for about 5 minutes, and we'll see how the color changes. that was, I'm gonna be honest, that was extremely boring, just blowing into this cup for 5 minutes, but it was worth it because you can see this water is now yellow. So my pH indicator came with a legend that you can use to see kind of what the pH is. So the water in this cup pretty much matches this yellow right here. And let's see, so that says, so how to read this guide is we just match the color on this guide to the color that we're seeing in the pH indicator. So because these two colors match, we can tell that this water is approximately 6.0 pH. Anything less than 7 is an acid. So we now know that this water is acidic, and it's only because I added carbon dioxide to it through my breath. So this is also kind of what happens in the ocean, right? The more carbon dioxide we add to the atmosphere, the more diffusion there is between the atmosphere and the hydrosphere, the ocean. And so now we might ask ourselves, you know, how is the ocean becoming more acidic, affecting the organisms that live there? How is it affecting the water cycle? How is it affecting other processes that happen on Earth? All right, so thanks for watching, and hope you enjoyed this experiment. You can do it at home. You just have to, you know, find some pH indicator. But all right, thanks for watching, guys.